Imagine this for a moment. You open your eyes in a world made of pure imagination. A place where mountains rise with a click of a mouse, where forests appear because someone dragged a brush across an empty grid, where a creature can breathe, run, or roar only because a few lines of code told the universe that it should. Video games are not just entertainment. They are artificial worlds born from human creativity and powered by technology. Entire universes built inside machines, places we explore, conquer, escape to, or get lost in. Today, we're going behind the curtain to discover how these worlds are actually made. From the tiny spark of an idea to the massive release played by millions, this is the secret life of game development. And trust me, it's even more magical and more chaotic than you think. Hello everyone and welcome back to ProjectNOTOS, the channel where we deep dive into science, technology and the stories behind the things that we use every day. Given my personal experience and profession as a game developer, we thought it would be a great moment to finally make a video about how video games are created. From the first spark of an idea to the moment you press play. And if you're new here, consider subscribing because it really helps the channel grow and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Now grab your controller, keyboard or even just your curiosity and let's step inside the world behind the screen and uncover how video games are crafted. Every video game begins with something incredibly simple, an idea. Not a full story, not beautiful graphics, just a spark. It might be as simple as a sentence like, what if a car could rocket jump inside a stadium? Or what if a lonely astronaut is stranded on a tiny planet? From that small spark, a whole world starts forming. Developers usually write what's called a concept document, a short explanation of what the game is, why it's fun, and what makes it unique. At this point, nothing exists yet. No characters, no environments, no code, only possibility. But this is the moment that decides everything, because if the core idea isn't strong, the whole project falls apart later. With the idea approved, the team moves in what's known as pre-production, which is basically the planning phase, but way more creative. This is where game designers start crafting the rules of the universe. They decide how the player moves, what challenges they face, how enemies behave, how progression works, and what emotions the game is meant to evoke. It's like writing the physics and the laws of a brand new planet. Meanwhile, concept artists begin drawing characters, items, landscapes, and creatures. These drawings guide the entire artistic direction. They define how the game will feel visually long before any 3D model is created. Technical leads also play a key role here. They choose the game engine, like Unity, Unreal Engine, Godot, or a custom engine, and this decision affects everything the team can or cannot do. But what is a game engine? Think of it as the command center, the giant piece of software that allows all teams to work together. It handles physics, rendering, lighting, animation, scripting, UI, audio, everything. Without game engines, most developers would spend years building basic tools instead of actual games. Engines democratize game creation, allowing even solo developers to build worlds that would have been impossible 20 years ago. Selecting the wrong tool here is like choosing the wrong foundation for a house. It might look fine for a while, but eventually something will crack. Producers organize the timeline and structure, who does what, when it should be ready, and how different teams will communicate. Game development is not magic, it's carefully managed chaos. By the end of pre-production, the team knows what they are building, what tools they are using, and how the whole journey will unfold. Production is where the game finally comes to life. The empty universe starts filling with shapes, textures, sounds, and logic. What was once only an idea now starts becoming a place you could walk through or run through or fight through depending on the game. The first people to shape this new world are usually the level designers. They create the playable paths, the hideouts, the challenges, the puzzles, and the overall rhythm of the experience. They decide where tension rises, where players get a moment of peace, and where big emotional moments explode. Even the placement of one rock or a single lamp in a corridor is rarely random. Everything is arranged to guide the player's eyes and choices without them even noticing it. After these gray box versions of the levels are laid out, environment artists step in to add beauty and realism. They replace simple shapes with actual forests, cities, caves, and other assets. They paint the terrain, add mist floating through trees, create sunlight bouncing off metal surfaces, and fill the world with tiny details like dust notes or drifting leaves. If level designers build the skeleton of the world, environment artists give it the skin, muscles, and personality. While this world is forming, the character team begins its own parallel journey. They start from 2D sketches and transform them into full 3D models. And this is where things get a bit technical but also fascinating. A 3D model is not a sculpture made of clay or metal. It's a shape made of math. Characters, weapons, buildings, everything you see in a game is built from thousands or even millions of tiny invisible points in space called vertices. Each vertex has 3 numbers, X, Y, and Z, that say exactly where it sits inside the 3D world. When many vertices are connected together, they form triangles, and those triangles form what's called a mesh. The mesh is basically the surface of an object, like the outer skin of a balloon. On top of that mesh, artists paint textures, add materials, and apply lighting effects to make it look like skin, metal, cloth, or scales. And then comes the magic, rigging. A model receives an internal digital skeleton with joints just like a human body. Animators can make the model walk, jump, fight, breathe, blink, or even dance. Without animation, a 3D model is just a statue. With animation, it becomes alive. The entire phase, building worlds, shaping characters, giving life to environments, is the heart of production. It's where imagination becomes something players can actually experience. But none of these beautiful things matter until programmers bring them all together. Programming is the invisible magic of game development. It controls how the character moves when you press a key. It makes enemies chase you or hide from you. It keeps track of your health, your inventory, your progress. It handles physics, sound, particles, UI, saving, loading, everything. And what makes this possible today is that most game engines come with the powerful modern programming languages built right in. For example, Unity uses C#, Unreal Engine uses Blueprint and C++, and many custom engines rely on C++ or internal scripting languages specifically designed for performance. And if you're curious to learn how this works in practice, don't forget that here on ProjectNOTOS we have an entire playlist called Let's Make a Video Game, a step-by-step Unity C# tutorial series where you can learn how to actually start building your own game. This is also the perfect moment for a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Iridio, the new single-player survival adventure from Care Games. In Iridio, you are thrown onto an island saved by criminals, a place that was once meant for scientific research and now desperately needs your help. You join Yaziri and the Wazari tribe to rescue captured villagers, uncover hidden secrets, craft weapons and essential tools, and face clever environmental puzzles that use fire and water in surprising ways. It's a great example of how all elements we've been talking about, world building, design, animation, and smart coding, come together to create a gripping experience. If you enjoy story-driven survival adventures with strategy, exploration, and real tension, definitely check out Iridio. You'll find all links in the description below. Now, back to our universe. Don't forget about sound. Sound is often underestimated, but it's vital. Audio designers create the tiny details we barely notice. Footsteps on gravel, the click of a gun, the rumble of a distant thunder. Music shapes the emotional journey. A soft melody invites exploration. A deep bass builds tension. A triumphant dam makes you feel unstoppable. Many of the most iconic moments in gaming would feel empty without music. Good sound doesn't just accompany the story, it amplifies it. When the game becomes playable, even if it's still ugly and broken, testers and sometimes external players are invited to try it. Developers observe every reaction. Are players confused? Are they excited? Do they understand the mechanics without instructions? Do they get lost? Do they smile at the right moment? This part can be painful. Many ideas that seem brilliant on paper turn out to be confusing or boring in practice. Levels get redesigned, mechanics get simplified, entire features sometimes get removed, but playtesting is essential. Without it, the game might be beautiful but unplayable. And bugs. Every game has a bug. Every single one. Some they're tiny, some are catastrophic, and some are just deeply hilarious. Characters floating into the sky, cars spinning like Beyblades, NPCs walking confidently into walls for eternity. Testers play the game over and over, trying to break it in every possible way, pressing weird button combinations, doing things players should not logically do, jumping where no one is supposed to jump. Once a bug is found, it goes back to programmers. They fix it, push an update, and hope nothing else explodes. People from this industry often say, game development is 30% creativity, 30% problem solving, and 40% trying to figure out why the floor suddenly disappeared. After months or years of work, the last step is optimization. This is where developers try to make the game run smoothly on as many systems as possible. They reduce loading times, fix frame drops, compress textures, improve lighting, remove unused objects, rewrite every script, and polish everything until the game finally feels complete. This phase is intense, but it's what transforms a messy prototype into a professional product. When the big day arrives, the game is released to the world. But the work doesn't stop there. Developers monitor player feedback, fix bugs that appear after launch, release patches, create new content, and continue supporting the game for months or even years. A game's journey doesn't end at launch. Sometimes it's only the beginning. Before we wrap up, here are a few fun facts you might not know about game development. Many games begin with no story at all. Mechanics first, story later. The famous AAA crunch time can mean developers work 70 to 80 hours per week near the end. Nintendo still prototypes many of their ideas using cardboard models before even touching a computer. The first version of the famous game Minecraft was created in only 6 days. Many iconic game sounds like shooting explosions and audio effects are actually made by mixing everyday noises such as breaking vegetables, slapping leather gloves, or slowing down animal sounds. Game development is full of strange creativity. So, the next time you start a game, remember, behind every model, every enemy, every jump, every sound, there are people, artists, coders, animators, writers, testers, all working together to bring an imaginary world to life. If you enjoyed this deep dive into video games and want more videos like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next adventure. Thank you for watching Project NOTOS, and I'll see you in the next universe!